are your sisters. So yeah, Sandy Smith, Quarriers survivor, got a lovely wife called Jane, and they've been through hell as young kids, and probably now with their own personal issues and health. But they're still here. They're fighting like mad. Hey, Sandy, you're still here. You're not going to leave us just yet.
Yeah, we're always here, and we'll always be brothers. Mark my word on that one. That's yeah, we've come through hell, Jane and I, in our lives, but we're still here, we're still fighting on, continuing our fight, and we'll continue to do that till we're dying day. I don't know if I'm lost.
Yeah, we put a picture up of you, Sandy, because for whatever reason, your screen's not coming on. So, yeah, so you had an event recently then, I believe it was a poor turnout, which is sad, really, because you was remembering the children at Quarriers that were in the graveyard.
Yeah, I mean, well, Jane and I, we met when we were, you know our story, we met when we were 5 in Quarriers Orphan Homes, Bridge of Weir. At the age of 14, Jane went, nobody knew. I tried to find her, couldn't find her. And it was 48 years later, we met again, and we fell in love again. And then we went back to Quarriers, and we were walking, we went back to remember the good times. And when we went into the graveyard at Quarriers, we noticed the headstones were missing. So, so we tried to find out. There were a woman there, and I'll mention her name, Alice Harper. She was a chief executive officer at the time. And oh my God, had we a battle in our hand. But when we went round, we met up again, we were going round Quarriers. This is when I found out Jane had been abused. She found out I'd been abused. And then that day we met 2 sisters. And one of them, that was a cottage I had been in after my time. She had been in the cottage. The man that abused me abused her. She now lives over in Australia. But after we come home, we started, Jane and I, about, I wonder how many other kids. So we started up, it was what was it, first Quarriers Warriors, what was it? I can't remember the name. But then we changed it. Now we go by the name of Quarriers Warriors, Adult Survivors of Abuse and Care. Adult childhood survivors of so we've got the name sorted out, and we've got a Facebook site set up, and it wasn't long, and we've got one site. I think there's 5, nearly near 1,000 people on it, but the other site there's about 6,500. 7,500, something like that. But there's a lot of followers. We've got a mass following here. And we're happy about that. But anyway, our very first battle was to get Quarriers to admit they knew we were being abused and care and give us an apology. Now, I mean, that is something in itself. We knew that before long that we had 184 of us, plus friends, family, all supporting. And we knew if we kept our link tight, we could possibly get something done. So we were bombarding Quarriers with plenty of people helping us, bombarding them, giving them the justice. So just at the onset of the Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry, Jane and I were there, and I walked in, and I sat down, Lady Smith up, and it was Quarriers, Bernardo's and Aberlour. That was the 3 that was getting done. And of course it starts, and there's 3 television screens, and I'm watching them. I swear, this is no lies. There were a woman, I could see her, and she's too busy, and she's got a wee mirror in front of her, brushing her hair, and then putting on makeup and lipstick and stuff. Now, this is lawyers for these orphanages supposed to be taking notes and hearing what's happening. Then the next thing I seen this guy, and he's got the phone out, but he's playing a game. And that's when I goes to Jane, this is a bloody farce. And I spoke, I come out and I goes, this is a bloody farce in there. So they sort of stopped and looked at us. So I goes to Jane, I need to get out here. I knew I would get lifted if I kept. So I went outside and I was out there for a while. Jane stayed inside with another girl who we know for another support group. I was outside, there were a wee vigil going on at the time outside with other orphanages there, and we were all talking away and blah, blah, blah. 1 o'clock gun went off, they had a minute's silence, and this piper started playing Highland Cathedral. And just after the piper finished that, this girl, she tapped me on the shoulder, she goes, Sandy, brilliant news. I goes, what's that? She goes, you've won your battle. Quarriers has admitted the new children were being abused and they've gave an apology through their lawyers. Oh, God. And this Jane was out by this time. And we're hugging each other. We've done this. And it was something else. And we're shedding, the tears were rolling down our face. At night, we were on the television, it was talking about this. But the next thing was, we were talking about the child abuse inquiry, and they showed the footage, and it was Jane and I standing there crying. And oh my God, we've made the telly. And after that, the Warriors just took off. We're massive. We've got so many we don't know. But we've got a brilliant following, brilliant respect for everybody it does, and they've got that for us. Then the next thing was the kids' headstones. Now, the woman that was in charge, Alice Harper, the Chief Executive Officer, when we met her, yes, we will get the headstones put back. Then the next thing at the next meeting, no, there were never any children's headstones in there. We goes, yes, they were. She goes, well, I'm telling you they weren't. I goes, I'm telling you they were. So she started and she's waving her hands on us and she's going, come on, bring me proof, show me proof, get me proof. She goes, anyway, who's going to believe orphan children? Well, that was lighting the fuse to me. I went, how dare you say that to us? So she told us, get out of my office. So we went away out and I went, you bitch, because I'm going to. So it took us a long while, put it that way, and we were very near giving up. We're never going to get this proof. We're never going to get it. And we were down at Jane's sister's one Sunday for a meal, and the subject came up, and I mentioned about this. So Jane's sister Wilma, she goes, I can give you proof. I goes, how's that? She goes, I've got a video of Clara. She goes, it goes a way back. She goes, it shows, Jane and herself and their brother, and along with myself, Okay, so so I got it. She goes, it shows the graveyard. So we got that. Sure enough, it showed the graveyard with these children. There's 338 children laid to rest in there. They had it down at 335. That's how in some articles, when you read about this, I'll come up 335 children. But there were actually 338 that as we done a survey, but we found out, and we had people coming forward. My thing was buried in there, so we knew there were extra children. We got all their name. We went to Quarriers with that. And again, this Alice Harper, we showed her a video. And I swear to God, Jane said, as my witness, she goes, how dare you bring that in here? That's doctored. That's not our graveyard. I goes, well, watch. There's William Quarriers. Yes, it's doctored. Get out, you orphan scum. And that's saying, you orphan scum, get out of my office. So I was, you bitch. So I had no other option after that. I went to the press. And that's when it started really, oh my God, this went big. The next thing was, hi Sandy. It was an email. Hi Sandy. I hope you're feeling well, you and Jane. And it's it was lovely to meet you, blah, 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 which was a lie, and she knew that. She goes, what it is to see if you could stop getting people to email us. We can't, well, internet's going down with the amount of emails that was coming in here. This is true. So I told her, I goes, no. I goes, I'm not stopping it. I goes, you brought this on yourself. I goes, and can you not remember we're orphan scum? Oh, I'm sorry, and everything else. So I do the email. So I'm not saying the newspaper or who, but this guy done us amazing. And everything we were showing it, there's the proof. We've got all the proof we're showing them. And of course it was going out, and this is what they've said, and blah. So it did bring Quarriers down, drastically brought them down. So eventually they agreed, yes, they would. So they invited Jane up and we had to cut the first sword so that for putting in headstones sort of thing. So we done that. Took us 5 years, just over 5 years, from us starting our fight to we ended it. And I was up in Dundee at the time, and it was my mate Alan, who you met on Moreland, and he said, he goes, Andy, I've got brilliant news for you. Watch this photo. He goes, you've won your battle. You did. He goes, no Warriors. He goes, there's the last headstone. And what they'd done, to save money, instead of putting up 338 little headstones, they put up 155 headstones. Some of the headstones has got 1, 2, and 3 names on them. Well, we were angry at that. But then we started getting messages in for descendants of these people from Canada, Australia, all over the world. The amount of messages we've been getting sent, and even today, has been unreal about getting this done. I met up with a woman from Canada called Laurie of Chesky. And this was the British Home Children, which is another thing. They were way back from 1800s right up to the 1970s. There were up 10,000. It's estimated over 150,000 British children were sent to these far off shores. If you've never heard that, Andy, just go on to YouTube and type in British Home Children Canada. This is what led me to Laurie of Chesky. Next year, if my health, I'm going over and I want to meet Laurie. I want to see where these children were taken to from Quarriers, because there were a lot. But anyway, this got me involved with the British Home Children. And oh my God, there were one kid went missing, and they started searching for this poor kid. And eventually they got his body. It was in a coffin too small from him. His feet and his hands were burnt off with frostbite. The pitchfork they used for the hay and that, there were that many stabs for this pitchfork they could not count. There were thousands upon thousands of holes where this guy had been crazy. He bent this poor child's body into this coffin that was too wee, and threw the kid's coffin on a cow's dung mud into rot. That's just one of the nice stories. There are a lot more.
Yeah, I'll just comment quickly about the British Home Children, because it's nice to explain it a little bit. Just a little brief paragraph. British Home Children were approximately 130,000 children. They were sent from the UK to the Commonwealth countries, particularly Canada, Australia, South Africa, between it started, believe it or not, the 1860s to the late 1970s, serving as cheap farm labour, domestic workers. Many were orphans, often poor families, separated from their parents without their consent, and often experienced harsh working conditions and mistreatment and abuse. The scheme, which aimed to resolve poverty and overcrowded in the UK and provide labour for dominions, whatever that means. And they've still not issued a formal apology, apparently, according to Google.
No. This as well, as I was mentioning, everybody's heard of Bernardo's, but Bernardo, he was actually charged, he had, was it 89? 88? Sorry, Dr. Bernardo had 88 charges against him for abducting children and sending them against parents, will or authority, to Canada. Now, the bit they don't tell you is, back then, every child, away back in 1800, it was sent there, they received £100 for, plus 10 shillings, like 50 pence in today's money, every year for their children. So it was money, 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 money making. Dr. Bernardo's was also suspected to be Jack the Ripper.
Wow.
Taken, you'll see my words are true. I've got all the proof. I can back everything up. I can't say anything because if anybody wants to go ahead and press charges, I can show them the paper, but I've got it all stashed. Hundreds of it in a way back. They say, but it was over 100. The true count is over 150,000 children into these countries. Right? They were sold for child slaves. That's what they were sent there for. It was just money, money, money. Now, coming on a bit further, after I met Jane, blah, 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 I was talking about, I was taken into hospital where I almost died as well. I was taken in with double pneumonia and I had COVID. Then they discovered my lungs, my liver, and my kidneys are, I'm in my way out. There's no kidding on here. So at the end of this month, my heartbeat goes up, down. I keep passing out and stuff. So what they're doing is they're taking me in and they're going to stop my heart. They're going to kill me. And then they're going to bring me back to life, put an electric current through me, bang, and that should bring everything back to normal, which I'm not looking forward to, but I know it works, so I'll go for it. But there were other things, and I found this a bit strange, because Jane was bothered with her back, and then with a lot of girls, adult women now, my back sore, this sore, that sore, blah, blah, blah. The boys, oh, my liver, my kidneys, my heart, and other parts, they were, so this is weird how we're all suffering the same. Now, we do remember, every single one of us, remember, when one Quarry's been taken to the hospital, the Elise Hospital in there. From school, we were marched up to the hospital with the stripped into our pants and vest. We were outside where we'd gone for the X-ray and for injections. And there were two nurses, one at each side, and we'd to put our hand in and grab out sweets. I remember a lot of times it was licorice comfort sweets. And we'd be putting in, we'd be holding our vest out, put more in, put more. God, we were in our element. Because we never got sweets in Quarriers. And there's other stories I can tell about that. And whatnot. But we know that we were injected. So this got me on what's in our systems. Now, I remember being strapped to a bed. I got a wee bit emotional here, I'm sorry for it. But there's a guy who was my best mate in Quarriers. And we lost contact. We met up again, like Jane and I, a few years ago. Oh, and Jane will tell you things we say to each other. Stuart's his name. I'll not give his second name, but I can say what I want to Stuart, and I've got his permission used, didn't I? But when I was in there, I remember being strapped to this bed. There were two guys in white coats. There was this big machine, and there were these wires coming off. They were on my body, and I had wires for all I was only a kid, on my testicles, on my penis, and that. I remember them. And I remember feeling an electric current down below, and oh, that was sore. And they kept turning up. I can remember screaming, but I passed out. This just wasn't once, twice, three. This was a lot of times. There's other guys this happened to as well. Stuart was one of them. When it came, we got married, start a family, we couldn't. I went for tests, it was me, and it was through what Quarriers done. Well, it wasn't Quarriers, it was, this was caused by the Ministry of Defence. Now, I'm fighting a hell of a case here, Andy, I ain't kidding on. I'm calling out the Ministry of Defence, and I'm also calling out the Westminster government at that time. They knew what they were doing to us. I've got the proof. I've got it here in front of me. We were used in experiments for the Cold War to see how certain chemicals injected into us would react. Also, if you Google Lennox Castle Hospital child experiments, you will see that the UK government are guilty as charged, and I'm calling them out. Right now, I'm calling them out.
Sandy, I've got on screen now. It says basically orphans were used in trials of vaccines. It says hundreds of orphans, some mentally handicapped children, and children in care were used in secret experiments to test vaccine drugs in the 1950s and 60s. Of course, it's not linked definitely to just 50s and 60s. I mean, other articles have got...
No, this has been going on. It was all during the Cold War year. This is when it was. If you go on and you type in Lennox Castle Hospital child abuse, Andy, this is unreal. And it tells you about the children were used in experiments for the Cold War to see how things was. It also goes on to talk about the planes that was flown down the east coast of Scotland into England, dropping chemicals in the people. Now, in the east coast of Scotland, away back in the 70s, there were kids being born with no arms, no legs, destroyed. Many, many people were dying of cancer, and this is what they were doing. They were dropping these chemicals to see how they would react. It's all down there, it's all proof. Now, I started, when I was getting the proof, I went to my MP at the time, and I'll name him Gavin Ewlands. Gavin Ewlands from my area. And I went with Jane, and I put my case forward, and they called me a liar. How dare you come into my office and say things like that? Nothing happened. He goes, you better have proof to back you up. I goes, well, my words I have. He goes, well, can you show me proof? So I went in and I pulled out the letter, and I've got it here in front of us. Now, this is for the National Health Service, Greater Glasgow and Clyde. Legal Aspects Team, 2nd floor, admin building, Gartnavel, Royal Hospital Campus, 1055 Great Western Road, Glasgow, blah, blah. Alexander Smith, my address, blah, blah, blah. Now, this letter was dated on the 16th of the 2nd. This was away back in 2023. I get this letter. Dear Mr. Smith, re-subject access request under the General Data Protection Regulation. Thank you. Thank you for your inquiry regarding access to your health records held by the National Health Service, Greater Glasgow and Clyde. I regret to inform you that the records you have requested have been destroyed in line with the Scottish Government guidance on a retention period for health records. Right? Now, I had put this up earlier, and we know they come out with rules to cover their arses, because just like the Scottish child abuse has went into millions and millions of pounds, this could wipe out governments, what I've got in my hand. Now, I showed Gavin Ewlands that letter, and he read it, and he went, I'm keeping that. So I grabbed it out of his hand, I went, no, that's mine. And he went, you better give me that. And that's Jane said as my man said, he goes, you better give me that. I went, no. He goes, well, I want a copy. So I gave him a copy. He told us, he goes, I'll be back. He goes, you better be back in touch with you. He goes, by the end of the week. Now, as I stated, this letter was dated on the 16th of the 2nd, 2023. Now, I don't know how many days are in or years are in his week, but that was in 2023. We are still waiting on him getting back to us. He resigned. He resigned because he was caught out. He had no other option to resign. So we know what it's for. But the government, they'll still not respond. Give us an honest answer. Why? Because you can't just destroy somebody's medical records. Our medical records are supposed to stay with us to 10 years after our death. So why is it with children who were in care, all, not just in Scotland, all over the UK, Scotland, England, and Wales, why was their records destroyed?
Sandy, medical records, I'll come to that in a minute, medical records, but basically the Lennoxtown Hospital that you're talking about is on screen now. It was written by Ben Borland, and children, well, adults now, but children of the past came forward to the inquiry to mention this. And at the end, Ben says this will probably remain, hidden for years to come. Anyway, medical records. We had the same problem, but Joanne, as you know, she's now, I don't know, I've forgotten what age, 57 probably, just at the top of my head, 56, 57. She was in, obviously, Nazareth House in the early 70s, and she managed to get her records up until the age of 1, and this was only like 3 years ago. But guess what? You can't make it up, and you probably could guess if I wasn't putting you on the spot. The records at the time when she was sexually abused in care, that particular period was gone, but the rest of the notes from age 1 was available, and we've got copies of them.
Well,
so it's not true what they've told you about. On the subject access, you allowed your records right back to 0.
I can't say too much here because there's a big case going on. That's all I can say, and it'll all come out there. But I have got the proof. Quarriers did and was involved in what do you call it with you? And you're sending kids out there. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, when Jane was a child, right, I'll put it. And I've got it on, it came through, and it shouldn't, these are part of her medical records shouldn't have went to her. And they're wondering how the hell did Jane get these, but they were sent through. And it states that this family, they were looking for a young girl, but this young girl had to be between the ages of 5 and 7, must have blonde hair, must be between the ages of 5 and 7. That right? So, if you would go to an orphanage to take a child out, you wouldn't care. You'd be happy any. Why ask for a specific type? That's designer children.
But they gave money to the people.
But these people had to pay money to take Jane. They had to pay money to take Jane out. So why had they pay money to take a child out? Jane remembers as well being sent to places. She wakes up many nights dreaming about a 4-poster bed. She still does that. This 4-poster bed. She still sees this farm in the, what do you call it? Next summer. Bridge of Allen. Jane still, Bridge of Allen out to Stirling. Jane still sees this farm out there being taken here. She still wakes up, this 4-poster bed. Whatever happened, we don't know. But she is screaming the place down. Screaming it down. We've also got the proof when Jane went into Quarriers Orphan Homes. The only thing Jane had with her was she had 2 web fingers, nothing more, nothing less. Now, you've seen the state Quarriers had their fingers all handy. You've seen that. Many people has. Why did they do that? No. No one can give an answer, and there's no records to say why. All we know was they were trying to make Jane a perfect child so that she could visit people. So what did this, a perfect child to visit people, mean? Was this to be pimped out to make money? We know she was. Jane knew she was. But the proof, that's all gone out like everything else. There's many adults still fighting to try and get their records from Quarriers. Many children are still trying to prove they were in orphanages. Now, Quarriers had lost all my records. And there were a hunters group up here had a fallout with one of my friends. And they tried to make out I was a dirty lying scum and everything else. I was only after money. I remember the first time I met you and you put me on the stage. I'll never forget that. I can't thank you enough because you were my turning point to who I am today. And I ain't kidding on here, and I mean that from my heart. It takes with the fallout. That's in the past. We're back together. We were something in the day. That was amazing. Something will stick with me. Stick with me for the rest of my life. But it's just, I begin to get upset and stuff. You know, really upset. I still wake up at nights in it as well. Jane will tell you screaming.
It'll never go away.
It never goes away. But I
know that personally. You didn't even have to tell me that. I know because obviously I'm married to a survivor. Oh, it's true. You know, well, I've got Jane, she's got me. You know, this is where I'm lucky. You know, I wrote a poem called "And They Say I'm One of the Lucky Ones," and it goes on to tell about the abuse. You know, I had a mother and father, but I couldn't tell my mum and dad. My mother and father went to their graves. My sister and my brothers all went to their grave. They knew something was up, but they didn't know. The only person that knew what was up with me was my sister Isabel, because she was, I don't talk enough about that, and I would never, but she was abused in there as a child. And we knew each other, but we never spoke about it, but we knew each other's darkest hidden secrets. And it was my sister Isabel that helped me more than anybody. When I was 16, I left the family home. I went to stay with her. I left school. I gave up. I couldn't read. I couldn't write. I was total useless. My first job was in the leatherworking bridge of Weir. Then I went to a farm. And this is all within a year. Then I had to become a joiner. I was forced into that. And that was in Kilmacombe. And this firm in Kilmacombe, my God, if it was today, I'd have been mega rich. I could have sued them for the things. You had a timesheet to fill in about the work, and I couldn't spell, as I said. I tried to fill it out the best. And the guy who owned the place would come in with this timesheet. It was in an A4 bit of paper. And he would go, come here, man, come here a minute, come here. Can any one of you tell me what Mongo's written in here? Look at the village idiot that Mongo over there's written. And they would all be fucking laughing at it. What's this supposed to be? And what's that supposed to be? I hurt. Rather than ask why, it's better to run somebody down. Even today, people run people down to the lowest because that makes them feel better than you. It still happens. And it will continue to happen. But that's carried with me. And then at that time, you started to learn more about sex. You learn, you know, what happened to you in the orphanages was far from wrong. Then you hear the rumours that comes out with this, a stigma, like, oh, if you were abused as a child, you'll go on. I never wanted to abuse, I would never do that. And that's just when suicide came into me. Well, if I'm going to abuse a child, I'll not be here to see it.
So I went down the road of trying to end my life. I've done that many a time. In 2011, I took a mini stroke. I took another one in October 2011. I took a mini stroke. In November of that year, I took another one. The first week in January, I went back to my work and I took a heart attack. And I was in for a few weeks. I come out and I caught my wife cheating on us. So everything was just gone. And I took an overdose of pills. And I don't know, man, and I took a whack. I was seen in the village going round about, and I was walking out in front of cars and stuff. I was like a drunk man. I don't know. And somebody had phoned up, which I thought was my son, which is another story for a rainy day. You know, but that hurted, by Christ, this hurts. But anyway, they'd phoned up this guy I thought was my son, and they told him about me. I was in the village like a drunk man, go and get me. And I to me, he goes, he can go in Effie's cell. He's nothing to me. He's not my father. I don't know why folk are saying that. But there were things that happened I don't want to talk about. I've wrote my book, you know, because I learned to read and write through my sister Isabel. She helped me so much. So much. And through time I decided, right, it's time to come out right. So I wrote my book and I named it The Hidden Secrets of the Warrior Behind the Stone Walls. The money I don't want, I use it to help causes that I believe in. The graveyard at Quarriers, we've got in tubs. The embankment in the place, I filled it with daffodils, all money that I got off the book and stuff. As you go into the graveyard at Quarriers, there's 2 tubs. And the first 2 is for Rhys Bonner, who was murdered in Glasgow. His family are very good friends of ours. And the other one is for Darren Savoury, 19. That was Jane's son. And he committed suicide. I'll go at that because when you both guys love children, and what better respect could be paid to the guys than having them at the gates of the entrance with the guardians of the children in there. Then there's another tub that's for my brothers that died and stuff. Then there's another 2 tubs. One's for the children sent to Canada. The other one's for the kids sent to Australia. And that's what the money's mainly used for that I get. They were one of our Quarrier sisters. It was a daughter. It was a granddaughter. Telling a lie. She had a child and the child died and the mother had no money. So that paid for the funeral, paid for the headstone, everything else that goes with it. That's what I use my money for. Help. I don't want money. I need money to get by, yeah, but I'm happy with what I've got. And I remember when I met you, he turned and goes to us one day and he goes, if you were offered £1 million right now and walk away from this, would you do it? And I give you my word, Andy, you've got my word, I would never do that. And I would never would. Money can never, ever replace what we went through or cure us. It cannot. The only person that can cure us is ourselves. But to cure ourselves, we really need good people beside us. You've got a good woman beside you. I've got a good woman beside me. She's got a good man beside her. So we can go on and progress our lives and make our lives what we want to be. We can never go back and change the past. That's done. It's happened. We can learn from it and make sure no child will ever go through that. But it's getting governments to listen to us because they don't want to, because they're all corrupt. They're all involved in it. And there's no doubts in that. You can go right into royalty if you want back. You know, I was even threatened, James, there as my witness by Nicola Sturgeon, because I spoke out about her and child abuse and how the Holly Gregg case and stuff, you know what I'm on about there. And Nicola didn't like me the way I was going on about it. So she put out the hitmen in me at one time, and I was warned that watch my back, because if I keep talking out, what happened to my good mate Willie McRae will happen to me. And if you go into Willie McRae case, he was murdered because he was going to talk out about child abuse. So this is the way we're treated when we want to speak out. We're silenced. I remember one woman that we both knew at one time. She down south, and you went and met her, and she took you out in the car, and she was telling you, this car will meet us here, and I'll leave there, and blah, blah. What happened to her? There have been many. There's a woman right now I'm trying to find out. Was put the coffee down in that one?
Harold,
No,
Mel Kelly.
Mel Kelly, sorry, Million. But this woman, Mel Kelly, and this woman, I mean, she was the best, and I mean, she was the cream of the cream when it come down. She lived in Australia at one time, and it was the time all these coal mines were going on fire mysteriously. She found out, she nearly wiped the government out. So she had to get out of there quick. So she came over to Irvine in Ayrshire. She stayed there. She knew exactly how we could go into quarries and take over and get everybody's records and try and discover what the hell happened. And there were other things. And this all was made public at one time. And the next thing, Mel Kelly went missing. Her husband, he was housebound. He could not get out. He went missing as well. Her two daughters put up a thing on Facebook about their mother and their father being missing. They didn't know where they were. This was about a week later. And one of the daughters come up, oh, hi guys, just to let you know, my mother's been found safe and well. They're okay, so don't worry. The next thing, these Facebook sites were taken down. Why? We don't know. The two girls, we've never heard from them again. We don't know where they are. No one knows where these people are. So what the hell has happened to them? And as I say, that woman who I was talking about, she was telling me she went missing. There have been so many people. When we speak out, we mysteriously go missing. That's how when I put it out, I state this. If I go missing, you know who to blame, because I'm not going to do anything stupid. Yes, I did try to commit suicide. I will never do that again, because I see Jane the way she is, because her son doing that. I vow and I swear I would never, ever, ever do that again. But this is what happens when we try to be the brave warriors and go ahead and we challenge governments and stuff. They don't like us. They despise us being that. You've heard it yourself. You know, I mean, I remember one guy one time, and it was the very first time I ever spoke out. The guy from down there, and he was helping a young girl from Aberdeen. You probably know who I'm talking about. That guy was in hospital and they said he died of cancer. I don't believe that. That's my view. I don't believe he died of it. That man was a gent. Christ, he was a one-off. One-offs are hard to find in your life. And it's not any people are no longer in your life. That's when you realise, well, just how much you miss them. And that's true. That's true. I mean, that guy, I remember the first time I spoke out, I was talking to you and along with him, and he goes, listen, he goes, if you get nervous, just look at me. And he's giving us a thumbs up and everything. And then Jane spoke out and we done the same. Aye. But bad things happen to us. It does. There's no ifs. The corruption in government to cover their own backsides is shocking. Absolutely disgusting. People go, do you think you'll ever get full justice? That's easy to answer. No. Will child abuse come to an end? No. There's too much money involved in this. Too much money involved. I took Jane up to Glasgow one day. to a place called Govan Hill, well known. From there, we went down to what's known as the Four Corners. When we went to Govan Hill, I stopped before we went round. I goes to Jane, just watch. Tell me the most thing you see. I drove round once and I stopped. I goes to Jane, I goes, what did you notice? She goes, there's an awful lot of the same shops, fruit shops. She goes, I also noticed a lot of elderly men with young children and people running about. Right. From there, we went down to what's known as the Four Corners in Glasgow, underneath the Central Bridge. But when the second time, when we drove round Govan Hill, Jane's there as my witness, it was laser pens. God, the car lit up with them. They were shining them, trying to hit our eyes and stuff. So Jane got panicked and we left. That's when we went into the Four Corners. And I swear Jane's is my witness. I went, oh, drop her.
Okay.
But when we went down there, and I'll mention the shop, McDonald's, at the Four Corners in Glasgow, there were guys standing at each door. There were kids as young as 7 going in. We could see them handing over money and coming out with a wee bag of white powder. We seen that. We walked further up. We seen these black guys. The kids, they were a beautiful wee girl. She was about 7, wasn't she? Not your lass. They put into the net. She was about 7 or 8. And she was screaming, help, 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 help. And I swear, Andy, may I rot in hell if I tell you a lie. We seen that girl getting put into a Mercedes. I got the registration number. I reported that to Police Scotland. Police Scotland goes, it happens all the time. That was their word to me, and I swear that's true. It happens, nothing was ever done.
Wow, that was bloody
I had the proof.
terrible.
This is a very serious allegation. John Porteous, the beast of the bell tower, was very friendly with Jimmy Savile. There were 2 boys taken from Quarriers Orphan Homes to an unknown address. One of them was murdered. I had a video with this guy on film talking about this, breaking his heart out. That he was given a knife by Savile and told to stab the guy and he was going to get it, and he would let people know in Quarriers what he was doing. The guy did put the knife, but the guy was dead because Savile had his hands around the guy. The guy knows now. He goes, Savile had his hands around this guy's neck, raping him. He goes, you could hear this kid gasping, trying to draw breath into him. That bastard, sorry for my language, but Savile murdered this guy. That beast of the bell tower knew about that. I gave that the only video proof I had to Police Scotland, and that went missing. And they had the bloody cheek to tell me, no, you never give us anything like that. And that is true. That is true. Jane said as my witness that I gave them. There were other people seen that video. I let them see it. They know my words are true. But any time when it comes into things like this, it's all covered up. Completely covered up. How can we ever go over what happened to us with the corruption that's going on in our motherland? That'll never heal. I am, now, when I see young kids, I feel sorry. Heartbroken. You wonder if their lives are going to be destroyed. You wonder what life's going to be for them later on. Is their children going to be raped, abused? You don't know. I was married to Satan's daughter for 38 years. I thought I had a son. I honestly thought I had a son. But he wrote and told me that I'm not his father. That by Christ, that hurts. But this same guy, I'll tell you the full story some other time. But he did me so wrong when I was in hospital. He robbed me blind, took everything off us, told many lies about us. But that hurts. I've got 2 grandkids I've never seen. My grandson, he'll be 15 now. He'll be 15. In 2012, he was 2 years. He was 2. That was the last time I seen my dad on. But he went on to have a daughter. So I've got a granddaughter, I think. But this guy I thought was my son, he told me, no, I'm not. I knew his mother was cheating on us. So I don't know whether it was done over rage or whether his word's true, I don't know. But he went on to tell people that his father was dead. But he does use my name when he was going for jobs, because where I lived and where I worked, where I was brought up was a place in Kilmacombe called Glenmill House. There's a big, massive estate in Kilmacombe. I lived in the cottage. Well, my father lived there first. And he worked there for a number of years. But when the present owners bought over, I was at the game. Well, they'd sold everything I had, so I couldn't. But he went back to this house and he pressed the bell, and he says to the woman in the house, he goes, "Hi there, blah blah, my name's." He goes, "What is?" He goes, "I hear you're looking for a gardener." He goes, "Well, you'll not get any better than me." He goes, "I'm fully qualified," which he was. He goes, "And my grandfather worked here. And then after my grandfather's death," he goes, "my father took over. Then after the death of my father, I took over." He's got a website up and running advertising his business, and he states that this house called Glenmill has had the same family working there for over 40 years. There's been 3 new owners. 3 families owned the house. That's a lie. There were 4 families owned the house. So he's a wee bit out. Maybe if he hears this, he'll correct that one. But he told that woman as well that I was dead. Now I went, when I wrote my first book there, see, you've got up. When I wrote that, I went back to get photographs. And when I went and I told the woman who I was, this woman was in a bloody shock. And, oh my God, she goes, "Are you such and such?" I'm going to give his name. I goes, she goes, "Oh my God, he came here and told me you were dead." She goes, "I can't believe this." He's never been back to that house since, because he found out that I had been there, and he's never went back. He can't face a woman face to face because he's lies. But I was in the graveyard at Quarries with Jane one day. I was doing the tubs up. This woman come walking in, she just looked. Andy, you went out and scream. And I was like, oh my God, honestly, I got afraid of my life. So, "Are you okay?" She goes, "Oh, shoe, Sandy, shoe." She goes, my son had told her I was dead. And I find that a horrible thing. That's a nice photo there. The stories to that. Oh, you can't see it. No, you can't. The sword I had in that was actually a replica made by the same man. See the film Braveheart? The man that made the sword for Mel Gibson, the film Braveheart, made me a replica. I've got it up my wall. And my next book, I'm on my horse Trojan. Oh, look apart, my sword and all that. But my other book, I'm hoping I've got it out for Christmas. I'm hoping to get it out for that. And that's called No More Hidden Secrets. No More Hidden Secrets for the Warrior on the Other Side of the Stone Walls. This is me now telling about how, after I left Quarriers, I turned to drugs and drink. That's never spoke about before. Things you've never heard before, and I'm going to tell about that. and then how I went into the music life and who I played with and what I'd done and stuff, and made no bad, and then ended up going downhill again. But it's like the first one, it's got good bits, bad bits, laughable bits, sad bits. It's my life. And as long as it can bring people a bit of comfort and help people just to improve their life, I've got everything off it. I don't want every money goes to help someone, and that's what it'll be. If I die, Jane knows the money will be left to keep the tubs and corridors every year and fresh flowers for the kids in there. That's what it's for. I don't want it. You know, it's priced £12, bit steep. The next one will be £10. I'll bring it down a couple. But for all I get off it, I'll only get about £3 a book or something like that if I do. But it's selling well, so I can't moan. You know, it's helped a lot of people, and it'll continue to do that. You know, but that's the way it is. But that's what I fight for, and I keep fighting for. But we've had some lives, haven't we? We've had some adventures in my day and all. You know, I could write another book about some of the adventures we've been on. You know, we've been here, man. We've been everywhere. Yeah.
No, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Trying to understand the past, try and live with the present, and look forward if you can to the future. And if you can help people on the way, then it's going to help you tenfold.
Oh yeah,
It's never about the money, as you said. It's if you can give 1 minute's help to someone, that gives you 10 hours back in happiness.
And the rest.
Yeah.
As I say, our last service here in the graveyard, this woman come over to me and she went, yeah. She goes, I've always wanted to give you a big hug, Karen. I went, yeah. She gives us this big hug and a kiss. She goes, this is not just from me. She goes, this is for my daughter. And she started crying. And I said, you okay? She goes, you'll never, ever, ever know what you've done for me and my family. You know? She goes, my daughter, she was only in her teens, you know, she was 14 somewhere. And her daughter was suicidal. She'd attempted her life many times, according to the woman. She goes, but one night she was in her room, she come through and she was crying. She gave her mother a hug and she apologised. She goes, Mum, I'm so sorry. She goes, I didn't know how much I was hurting you. She goes, but I give you my word, I will never again attempt suicide. She goes, and she never has. She goes, and that's all through you. She started listening to you and found the light at the end of the tunnel. That's it. That's my payback. That is my payback. I remember the way back in the early days when I met you, and it was at New Lanark, that event there. I remember saying to you, if I go in there a day and I come off and just one person gets comfort, I goes, I'll be over a minute. I'll go home happy. And I was frightened, I can't say, and I went up. And after I come off, I come into the hall, and outside I shed tears. I come back in, the first person I met was Brian Clear. And Brian was in a bad way then. And Brian went on, to me, Brian became an amazing warrior, fighting, really good. And then there was another girl from down Ayrshire, her father was a police guy. And he raped her as a child. And then the girl went on to get married. She had a daughter, I think she was 13, and he was trying, to seduce her. And the daughter, she told him, she goes, I'm going to report you. And he donned his uniform and pointed to the 3 stripes. He goes, who are you going to believe, you dirty bitch? He goes, that's all, you are a bitch. He goes, you're here for my pleasure when I want. Don't forget that. That's true. So this girl, she'd heard me at that conference thanks to you. And Jane took her under her wing. And a few years ago, we were in Glasgow. an event we were talking at, and that girl was there, and she was thanking myself and Jane, you know, because we took her under our wing, and we gave her every bit of support we could. And that's what it's about. If we can get people like that to come together, just give support, a bit of comfort. There's more warriors, even out there tonight, breaking their heart. I've got a great, since I was a kid in Warriors, I met Stuart, who I spoke about earlier. Stuart was an amazing guy, brilliant warrior. But when we met again just a few years back there, Stuart was in a hell of a place. His family was all concerned. Stuart was suicidal, and they were all worried. They thought Stuart would go on to do this. And just with the support, I took Stuart under my wing. And he still says that. And they'll come on. He goes, hey, you know, and he goes, how you doing, Stuart? I'm doing great. You okay? Aye. He goes, and every time, he goes, do you know, Sandy, I don't give an F, and he'll come out with it. He goes, I feel great. He goes, it's the best thing I've ever done, is just to come out and speak about what happened to me. He goes, I never thought. He goes, I've told my daughters, I've told my family, my brothers, my sisters, they all know. They all know. But what they didn't know was he had brothers and sisters as well in quarters, and they were all abused. You know? And
Yeah.
we
I've
met
just
up.
been
Sorry?
I've just been reading the article of I didn't know this, about the house mother, Anne Whitty, that was sentenced last year.
Aye.
And
Well,
the comment from you personally at the bottom of that story was she should get a prison sentence reflecting all the years of how she's put the children through.
yeah,
Which is very true.
Yeah, because in my new book, I mentioned, I give their names and the charges and the sentences. And you see this, then you'll realise there's no justice. No justice. We'll never get that. There was the beast of the bell tower, John Porteous, sent to Peterhead prison for 8 years for sexually abusing kids of all places in the church bell tower. Abusing kids in there. He was sentenced to 8 years, down to 6, down to 4, and let out in 2. The kids he abused tried for legal aid to fight the case and were denied. The abuser, John Porteous, applied for it and was awarded £50,000 in legal aid. That's true. You can check it out. He got 50. How the hell can an abuser be awarded £50,000 and the children he abused don't get a penny to fight their case? It shows you the justice we have in Scotland. And it's true. They
The
cover it
beast
up.
of the bell tower.
Yeah. Because he was even friend. If you go right, I can go right into this and I can name and shame a lot. And I will, because I'm not frightened anymore. I was frightened at one time. But if you go right into this and you look and see and follow this line, you had Porteous, the beast of the bell tower, friendly with Jimmy Savile, who was connected to the, what do you call him, that so-and-so, who murdered all the kids in the school at the Dunblane massacre, who killed them. All tallied. And then you go further, it goes into royalty. Your Prince, well, your King Charles now, your Duke of Edinburgh, it goes into them all. But oh no, you can't say that, you disgusting person. How dare you say that? We're run down to the lowest. We're locked up Probably night because I've said I'll have the police chapman in my door. I don't give a damn. Because let them, because I know for a fact there'll be plenty people all over Facebook. There'll be plenty of people standing outside the jail shouting on us. They'll probably hold me in for about 12 hours. They've done that for. They hold you in for roughly about 12 hours, and then no charge. On you go. No,
Yeah.
if you've not got money home, well, you'll need to walk, won't you?
You
That's the
can't
way.
even tweet these days or Facebook post.
Aye. Oh, it's true. I mean, look at this now the state our country's in. Fly a Union Jack. That's a crime. I mean, that's, wow, that's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. You get people on with that Tommy Robertson, it's just like a way back when I was a kid. It was that Enoch Powell, and he was the same, about the immigrants coming into the country. We're going to, and it's true. I'm not racist. I'm far from it. I've got friends of all religions. I've got them in my family as well. So I'm not racist, far from it. But when they start abusing the system and raping our children and stuff, then I do get involved. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I've got a very good guest coming on Thursday. Never met him, but he talks very honestly and openly about this problem. I think he's a friend of Tommy Robinson's too. Yeah, I've got nothing.
I've
got nothing wrong with Tommy Robinson. I've got nothing wrong with immigrants, as long as they're the legal ones that ask to come in. Then they come in, then they do the job, then they leave, and they enjoy our country.
I don't mind that. I mean, there's plenty of people.
It's the boat people, isn't it?
Aye, they're coming in. They're no checked. There was a thing there, and they were handing out leaflets. Rape the white women, get them pregnant, and then that's it. You'll be allowed to stay in the country. For fuck's sake, this is true. This is happening. Because we speak out, you get governments. How dare you? He is racist. Get him locked up. And that's the way he goes. I don't know if you've seen the video. I've seen the full video there. With that Keir Starmer, there's a wee photograph of him. But there's a video going about, that's shocking with him. And he's talking about, they're talking about World War III, with Russia and all that, and we need to do this, we need to do that. Hold on a minute. And he's got, I think it's a £10 note he's got holding it. Snort.
He hasn't got a clue, that guy.
Snorting cocaine, that's true.
I'd rather have Nicola Sturgeon back than have Keir Starmer.
Oh God, we've gone from bad to worse. The stories about that Scottish government, I can tell, all true. I've been there, done that, seen it. The way how when you're out in the street, how to present yourself so that people think, first thing you're told, if you're out in the street representing, look for somebody with a child and make as much fuss with it. Get that child in your lap. Oh, you're beautiful. Look at you. Oh, your child's lovely. Oh, have you any more, Andy? Have you any more children? Oh, what a beautiful girl. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Right. And then, see if your dad and mum votes for the SNP, you're going to have a lovely life. And then you give the kid back and go, take it back. I don't want that. They're not interested in your kid. It's them. I told Jane about one time as well. Ask them a question, stump them. They don't want it. And at the time it was about all this with the fishing, all these boats coming into our country. And they were looking for votes at that time. And the SNP were out in the street. And I says to Jane, I goes, ask them about the fishing. What's going to happen if they get in and they're going to stop all these foreign boats coming in and taking their fish. I goes, I'll tell you, I bet you the guy you ask, I'll turn around and go, well, just a minute, I've got to go. He'll answer it, and then this guy will come on and go, well, I'm not really specialised in that, I don't know. And he'll start talking about a load of shit you don't want to hear. So didn't it? It worked. Changing my witness, it worked. This guy, she's going, what about our fish? What do you mean? He goes, well, all these boats come in and take all the fish and blah, blah. We're not allowed to. Oh, just a minute, I've got away. I will come back and see you. Well, here's my colleague, he'll talk to you. So this guy comes up, yes, what you talk? Well, I say, I don't know nothing about, so I can't really comment. And then he'll go on about housing or whatever. Yes, but what do you think of the housing in this area? No, I don't want to know about that. I want to know. I don't know. And you're taught to do this. It's a wee guide, how to get yourself out of a situation. It works. I've been there, done that. I know how it works. But still, life goes on, and so do we. You can't keep us down.
Sandy, it's been a pleasure again to catch up on the live stream with you.
No bother. Any time, we're always here. The same night,
Good night, Andrew.
Good night. It's only if people wanted to get in contact with you, is there a little group that you can tell everybody they can join?
I've got many people I could get to come on your show if you want. Some of them's got some stories.
Yeah, that as well. But if people wanted to, if they're listening now and they want to contact you or they want to be a part of your group, what is the one?
How do I get to listen to you? That's the thing I don't know. You're talking about next later the week.